Okay, let's go ahead and start working through Chapter 12. Now you can see I've started AutoCAD and I've stopped here at the startup window. I wanted to point a couple things out to you in this window. Normally, we've been using the start from scratch, and we're actually going to do that again today. But what we're going to do first thing is we're going to build ourselves a template, and then you'll have a template that's available for you to use later. So for right now, let's go ahead and just start from scratch. Say OK. We're going to wait a minute while this gets going. And while this is going, I'm going to talk to you for a little bit. What we're going to do is we're going to go into a window and we are going to set up plot styles, or actually we're going to look at the plot styles manager. Now there are a couple of different ways that you can manage your plot styles in AutoCAD. The traditional way is to just kind of let the printer use the line colors and styles and weights that you have in the drawing. There's a more flexible way that allows you to choose by color, well, by name. And I've already changed mine, which is why if you click here on Properties, and then right here next to your printer, you're going to have a grayed out box. So let me show you how to make yours give you the option to choose by name, because that's what we actually want to use. So what we're going to do is we're going to follow the steps that actually begin on page 5 in Chapter 8. So right click, go to Options, move to the Plot and Publish tab, and click on Plot Style Table Settings, which is right down here. What you want to do, so this will say, yours will probably say use color dependent plot styles. What I want you to do is change that to use named plot styles, and then make this say acad.stb, and then just say OK. And OK. And we can close out of that. Sorry, it's going to take mine a little bit to catch up. My computer is sleepy today. So what the named plot styles will do is it will allow us to actually create names, and lets us control more precisely how things are plotted, so that if we want to plot for a different purpose, we can just use a named plot style to make that happen. Okay, so we're going to now close this file, and we don't need to save it. And we're just going to go ahead and open up a new file, a new drawing. And we are again going to start from scratch. And Imperial is fine, and say OK. And the reason why they had you do that was because now you can see that up here, if we click on Properties, you've got options underneath your plot style selection bar. When we get to the end of today's activity, this chapter's activity, you will have the option to print that. I'm not going to require you to submit a print, but you will now know how to print by the time you're done. What you are going to do is you're going to have your layout all set up for printing when you send your file in to me. All right, let's go ahead and set up our file. We're going to start with our grid and snap intervals. So go into Tools, Drafting Settings. Make your snap be 0.5 on X and Y, but set your grid at 1. Whoops, not 11. 1. There we go. and turn on, well, just go ahead and say OK, and then make sure both your grid and your snap are on. Okay, so now we're going to do some setup in this file, and we're going to go into our layer properties, and we're going to build a whole bunch of layers. And I have not pre-done any of this, so on page 9, I'm going to build all of those layers that are specified there. So you can go ahead and do this as well. Object lines, blue in color, continuous, and 0.6 millimeters. These are all common layers that we will use as we build different things. And part of the reason we're doing this is we're going to create a template that we can use for future drawings, so we don't have to keep recreating these layers and reloading these line types. All right, center lines. Come on. There we go. We will talk about sections and cutting planes as we move through this course. We'll use them more in the next course. We are also going to be creating title blocks soon, and title blocks are really important when you start printing drawings because they save the information about what version of the drawing it is that you printed. Remember that as you go through the design process, you'll be creating different versions of these drawings. And you'll need to know which version it is that somebody's looking at to know whether or not they're looking at the latest or if they've not gotten the latest update. And sometimes you might need to roll back to a previous version. So that's something to think about when you're saving files, is whether or not you really want to overwrite your previous versions. And it kind of depends on how much you've changed. But it is something to be aware of. Talk about viewports in a few minutes. Okay, so there are all of our layers. Let's go ahead and make our construction layer be the current layer. One thing you don't want to do is draw on layer 0. We can't get rid of layer 0, but we should not draw on layer 0. It's not good practice. And as far as organizing your information and managing AutoCAD and good drafting practice, you should always draw your things on the layer that is appropriate to them, not on layer 0. So no more drawing on layer 0. You'll notice we left all of our plot styles to normal. This lets us define our line weights when plotting. So this actually gives us more flexibility. So let's go ahead and close out here. And move on to the next page. So what we're going to do now, so this is the screen we've been drawing on. This is model space. That's why it's called model down here on the bottom tab. When we start talking about printing, we need to move into paper space. We move into paper space by clicking on the layout tab. This now gives us a piece of paper. And what we're going to do is we're going to do some work in setting up this piece of paper. Now, most of you will likely not have access to a large format printer, so most of your plots will be done on 8.5 by 11 if you print stuff. If you need to print something larger, you're doing a floor plan, you may be sending stuff to a large format printer. Large format printers will print out a variety of sizes, and there are standard sizes, so we'll talk about that. But let's go ahead and right-click in your drawing space and click on Options. It's really important to remember that when we draw in AutoCAD, we draw full scale. So if you've got a wall that is 100 feet long, you draw it 100 feet long in AutoCAD. We will do the scaling when we print, not when we draw. Okay? It's different than manual drafting. But we are going to put on some borders right now. So Page Setup Manager, through Options, all right, I think I'm in the wrong spot. Right click. Oh, I know why. Don't click in the middle of your page. Click down here on the tab. Right click on the tab, and then Page Setup Manager. What we're going to do is we're going to modify this default. So highlight this name, click Modify, choose a printer. Now if you click on that, lots of depending on where you are, the printers available to you will come up. I want you to scroll all the way down, because down here at the bottom, there are some things that are handy for you. For example, AutoCAD will publish to a JPEG. You can do publish to web. You can do drawing to PDF. This is very handy. If you don't have a printer hooked up to your computer, you can choose drawing to PDF. This is DWG to PDF. This is a very convenient feature because it essentially allows you to print to a PDF file. I'm here on Pendleton campus, so you can see I've got all sorts of options. Another one I want to point out to you, this is called Cutepdf Writer. This is a free print driver that you can download on your computer from the internet. It works just like a printer, and it creates PDFs. So it is a print to PDF utility. It works with any file. It works with Word, Excel, PowerPoint. It's just like a printer. So that's one way to create PDFs. All right, hold on. I need to find my, there, I want that one. Okay, so we've chosen our printers, and what we're going to do today is we're going to set up an A size. Now, drawing sizes are designated by letter. A size is an 8.5 by 11. So most of us are familiar with letter, which is 8.5 by 11. You can see that that's over here is an A. This is not actually the drawing size. Standard drawing sizes are A, B, C, and D, and those are drafting standard drawing sizes. D is the largest standard, and I'm going to be honest with you and tell you I can never remember what inches go with which ones. I think C size is 11 by 17. B size maybe is 14 by 28, and I'm not sure. We're going to go with A. We're going to do 8.5 by 11. And set your orientation to landscape. And then just click OK. And then close. Okay, so now in here, there's a rectangular so this gray rectangular outline. We're going to take it off. So just highlight it and hit delete on your keyboard. Now, we're going to go to our Object Properties toolbar. And we're going to select the layer control box. And what we want to do is we want to set title block as our current layer. So we're going to make title block current. We're going to draw in a rectangle. And somewhere inside here, down near the lower left corner, we are going to put in a 10.5 by 7.5 inch rectangle. Okay. That is the outline of our drawing. And what we're going to, or that will be, that's our border. So now we're going to build our title block as shown on step 13. So we've got a few things there. We've got a rectangle. And the first one is 2.35 by 1/4 inch. And this next one is 2.30, again by 1/4 inch. So I'm using relative entries to make my rectangles. So I click on my first point, and then I type the @ symbol, and then how far I want my next corner to be relative to that point. So I just told AutoCAD I want it to be 2.3 inches, 2.3 units, inches, to the right, and 1/4 inch up. And that makes my rectangle the size that I want it to be. Okay, and just like that, I've created some very precise blocks to put text into. All right, let's do this again. Second row. Right now, I'm sure you figured out that drafting, technical drawing, is all about precision. I'm hoping you realize that freehanding, or clicking close to where we think the border should be, is not the best way to create objects. Much better is to use the tools that you have available to you to make precise, very precise entries. Okay, rectangles are done. And let's just check something. So we've been working in paper space. If we go back into model space, you'll notice there's none of this stuff in model space. It only exists in paper space. So that's something to be aware of. So let's go back up here and set our current layer to construction. And we want to turn on snap grid object snap object tracking. Let's go back into model space. Grid snap object tracking and object snap all turned on. Let's also turn on line weight display. And now let's talk about template files. So we should put in our text on your own. I'm going to let you guys do this on your own. You should remember how to do single line text. Put in, don't put in Oregon's OIT, Oregon Institute of Technology, as shown in the book. Put in Blue Mountain Community College. So you should remember how to do single line text and put it right here in this corner and take it to the other end. And a 0 line of rotation. And then type, oops, too big. I'm going to let you guys do this on your own. There's a primer on text entry, remember back in the previous chapter 7 where we did 6 or 7 where we did dimensions. So put in the text that you've got there in that title block. Blue Mountain Community College, drawn by, and then your name. Checked by, you don't need to worry about that so much. In professional offices, we always check one another's work to make sure that we've got at least 2 sets of eyes on every drawing that goes out, and usually 3 because then it has to be approved by a third person, and that's what the AP buy. And then there's sheet. That's a sheet number in case you're doing a set. Scale, you always want to note your scale, and actually I think we'll show you how to do that. Most drawings are numbered in a professional office so that you can tell precisely what somebody is looking at. And then there's always a date. All right, so I'm on page 13, template files. This is the heart of your CAD system. This is the ability so that we can reuse information. So we're going to go up here and we are going to save as. And down here where it says DWG, we are going to change that to template file. AutoCAD drawing template. Now, put this someplace. You can leave it in the template folder, or you can put it someplace else and browse to where you would like to save your templates. I'm going to leave it in the default template folder, and I'm going to call it ACAD-A-H-title, just because that's what it says to call it in the text. And I'm going to click Save. In the description, we're going to say that this is an A size horizontal layout with title block. And then say OK. So you can convert any AutoCAD drawing file into a template file, because the only difference between an AutoCAD template file and an AutoCAD drawing file is the extension. But we're going to look at what happens when we open up a template file, because it's kind of handy. So I'm going to exit out of here, and I'm going to open a new file. And instead of starting from scratch, I'm going to start from a template. And you can see now that we've got a list of templates. Here's the one we just built. And down here it tells us what our description is. So you can look at any of these and it tells you what the description is. Let's use the template file we just created and say OK. And look, our grid is back. All of our options are set. Our layers are all created. And our paper space is laid out. All right. Notice, though, that we're not actually, if I go up and say Save As, this file doesn't have a name yet. So it's different than opening up a drawing file. I opened up a template file that doesn't give me a drawing name, but it brings in all my settings. So now let's go ahead and stop here for tonight because this video is long enough. I will create another video using this same template file to draw the Geneva cam. And I will see you all again soon.